Hamas now says it may take some time to return the remains of all of the Israeli hostages it was holding. A ceasefire agreement met earlier in the week allowed for the release of the living hostages. This is just some of the latest video from NBC News this week. They were taken at the start of the Israel-Hamas war. This has been an emotional week around the world and here at home. Here to share how our local Jewish community is viewing this moment is Bonnie Birdman. She's the executive director at the Youngstown Area Jewish Federation. Bonnie, thank you for taking the time to join us.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yes, nearly 2 years ago on October 7th, 2023, the whole world watched in shock as Hamas attacked Israel. On Monday, 6 days after that anniversary, a ceasefire agreement was reached and those hostages were released. So how do you describe this moment for members of the Jewish faith here locally?
It really was a moment of jubilation. It was something we had been praying for such a long time. We are so thankful for the 20 hostages who did come home alive and recognize that there are still some 19 or so that are left in Gaza, and we're just praying that they come home and there'll be an opportunity for the families to give them a proper burial.
Were you thinking the timeline for their return would happen this year?
You know, we prayed. We hoped it would have happened sooner than this, but now that it has happened, you know, we are very, very thankful for that and very appreciative of President Trump and the United States and all of the negotiators, as well as the Arab countries around the region who all supported this ceasefire and are all looking for a more peaceful resolution in the area.
You know, I had mentioned what Hamas had just said on Thursday, now knowing that there are still remains of hostages that need to be returned. Are you and others frustrated that it's taken this long and that this is kind of, you know, day by day learning more information?
Sure. And it's something, you know, everybody has to keep an eye on. We all watched in horror at the videos after Israel complied with the first phase of the ceasefire and pulled back, that Hamas was summarily executing citizens in the street. So we recognize that the terror that civilians in Gaza are living under Hamas rule is really horrible, and we're hoping that this peace process can move forward and ultimately result in Hamas stepping down and a peaceful resolution for everybody.
The Israeli-Palestinian conflict that has been going on since 1948. Does this mark a shift in the relationship? Do you think that this can be rebuilt, or do you think that there's going to have to be a two-state solution at some point?
Well, you know, we're hoping for what can create peace in the region, and we've always been advocates of a two-state solution, of a free Israel living side by side and with a demilitarized Palestinian state and living in peace. And as you mentioned, this started in 1948, and it basically started because there was a lack of acceptance of the creation of the state of Israel. And once that lack of acceptance, that appreciation for this great state that Israel is, once that changes and people realize that Israel isn't going away, we're hopeful that this can lead to a resolution of the ongoing conflict.
You know, back to the victims, the hostages and their families, how has the Jewish community been leaning on each other? What's the message you're hearing consistently about their lives, the lives that were also lost?
Well, you know, we've been saying our prayers daily. There have been special prayers in the synagogues weekly for the hostages. Several hostage families have some connections to some local people here. We've met via Zoom and other ways with hostage families. We actually had a speaker here in Youngstown on the anniversary of October 7th. She lost several of her closest friends at the Nova Music Festival, and she served in Gaza as part of an all-female unit fighting side by side with several of all-male units, trying to rescue the hostages and to put an end to the conflict.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Bonnie. Appreciate you joining us here at 5.
Thank you so much. I appreciate being